Hey, what took you so long? Good morning or good afternoon for some of you, probably. Good evening for some of you. Alvin, buenas noches. How is everybody? Do you have your caffeine yet? Hey, what happened? We just froze at 170. Did I get banned already? Oh, there we go. Numbers are climbing now. The trick-or-treaters were all kind to me. They seemed very nice. Happy post-Halloween. Oh, my biggest fan is here. I think all those who think they're my biggest fan should fight it out. Cage match. It's going to be crazy today. Hey, has there been, has any news dropped in the last hour or so? Anything? Anything? You would have already told me if it had. You know, this, one of the amazing things about this Periscope and Twitter world is if you think about it, when I'm on here, and I'm on especially Periscope, but Twitter as well, and you can imagine them working together. If you imagined the combination of me, Twitter, all the users who follow me, and then also Periscope, which is, you know, highly integrated with Twitter, and then all of the users who follow me live on Periscope, if you thought about it, it forms a kind of supermind, right? It's almost like the part we're doing on Periscope is sort of the conscious mind. It's, you know, it's the immediate thoughts, but it's almost like I'm brainstorming with a turbocharge, which is everybody who's talking right now. So however smart I am sitting alone in a room talking to nobody, when I'm on here, I'm instantly boosted in intelligence. So watch this. Let me give you an example of instant boost of intelligence. If I said the capital of Serbia is, how long would it take for someone here to accurately tell me the capital of Serbia? Is it Belgrade? Okay, let's go with Belgrade. That sounds right. I guess I should have known that one. So I should have picked something a little bit harder. But anyway, unless I got it wrong. But the point is, it would work not just for facts, right? It would also work for ideas. So if I said an idea that was just batshit crazy, you would instantly tell me. So you've essentially you've extended whatever brain power I have as an individual. It's, I don't know, is it 100 times bigger right now? It would be almost impossible for me to say something with this many followers at this moment. It would be almost impossible for me to say something that's, you know, wildly wrong, or really maybe even just a little bit wrong, without somebody telling me immediately right here. And then it would be corrected, you know, in a matter of moments. So it's sort of like a super brain. And then you extend that again, and you realize that of the 1,000+ people watching this live, each of you have access to, you know, Google and, you know, the intelligence of the universe. So I have sort of, this is like a concentrator. So the intelligence of the universe can be fed to me in real time, literally while I talk. Has there ever been anything like that? I mean, we've always had broadcasts where somebody could talk to lots of people, but what's different is that the feedback is immediate. And it's not just feedback, it's both intelligence and fact-checking. I can check emotion. I could A/B test in real time. I could do this right now, right while we're doing this. And then if you imagine that the Twitter portion of this larger system would be more like long-term memory, or, you know, an analogy where things are happening a little more slowly. Ideas are developing. Maybe that's where concepts, you know, go to be stored forever. Because what we're doing now is a little more temporal, even though it gets stored in some places. The experience is kind of happening right now. Whereas Twitter just lays there for a while, you know, ideally forever. So Twitter's like the long-term memory. Periscope is like the conscious mind, the short-term memory part of it, and you can think of it all as this giant brain. And this moment we're having right now would be like the point of a consciousness, because even though you're conscious, you're usually only thinking of one thing at a time. So there's always a concentration of that intelligence, and it's happening right here. So let's drink coffee to that. And now let's get to the important questions. Donna Brazile. Who wants to talk about Donna Brazile? Raise your heart. Yes, I know you do. Okay. So, Donna Brazile got caught, and again, watch. You can fact check me in real time. Donna Brazile, head of the DNC, temporary head of the DNC, I guess, the replacement head, for the last one who left because she was accused of favoring Clinton over Bernie Sanders. So the person who replaced her, Donna Brazile, has apparently favored Clinton over Sanders. So the replacement as bad as the woman she was replacing. And we know that because WikiLeaks has evidence that no one's really doubting, I think. That says Donna Brazile gave the Clinton camp two of the questions on two different debates that Bernie Sanders did not get. And they were sort of the hard, unexpected questions, so it probably did make a little difference, or could have. Now, we imagine there might have been more instances when that happened, but we only know of these two. But two suggests a pattern. It suggests that I don't blame CNN, not as a news organization. And if you've been following me this election season, you know that I wouldn't hold back my criticism of them or anybody else. But I think you can't hold it against CNN as an organization that Donna Brazile had access to those questions, because there are probably just a lot of leaks everywhere. So I think we're talking individuals who felt it important to do whatever they did. All right. Do I have something on it? Oh, I think I do. Hold on. It's trouble if you don't shave and you wipe your mouth with a paper napkin, you get crap all over you. All right. CNN never apologized. Didn't they say there were a couple of words that were like deeply disturbed or uncomfortable? No, uncomfortable, I think they said, which I thought was actually a really good choice of words, because they haven't totally processed, this whole thing. So CNN, by use of the word, I think deeply uncomfortable was what they said, is actually really good language for this, because they're just sort of figuring out what the hell went on. I doubt they know who gave it to her. They're probably waterboarding people internally right now, saying, "Did you do it?" There's probably all kinds of accusations going on in CNN. But here's the point I'm getting to. The big point. This is the point you've been waiting for. All right. As I tweeted, I predict that this event, the Donna Brazile event, over all of the big scandalous things you've seen, is going to have an impact on media coverage. And here's why. The way our brains are organized is that if there's a nuclear war on the other side of the planet, well, we're interested, but it's kind of on the other side of the planet, if you know what I mean. Humans are just insanely selfish. We think the world revolves around us. Our filter of the world is just based on our own experience and our own sense of self-importance. So no matter how big the news is, whether it's the Clinton Foundation running essentially a crime organization shadow government, which sounds pretty bad to me, or climate change, whatever you think of that, or ISIS, or war with Russia, these are all gigantic issues, right? But they're a little bit conceptual. They're sort of more about things that might happen in the future, but we hope they won't. They don't have the immediacy of something that happens to you personally. And then Donna Brazile comes along. And she makes the Clinton favorable media, the people who you would imagine, at least in your impression of things, are Clinton friendly. She makes that entire clump of professional journalists who would like to retain some sense of dignity, she makes them all look like horrible ass clowns. All right? Now that's personal. And here's my point. All right? Until now, it wasn't personal for the journalists. The journalists, sure, they had a preference. They preferred Clinton, presumably, over Trump, with whatever information they had available to them. As more information came out that was negative to Clinton, you didn't really see the coverage change as much as you thought it would, right? Suddenly you're finding out that the Clinton Foundation was, for all practical purposes, a giant shakedown, mafia-like organization, minus the murder as far as we know, that existed solely for buying and selling influence and creating essentially a Russia-like organization where there's just a pretense of democratic operations, and really it's all just influence behind the scenes. I mean, basically subverting the Constitution of the United States, in the most basic way, and getting caught at it. You would think that would be enough to make the media maybe turn against Trump, or turn against Clinton for being at the center of all this. You would think that this constant drip of Project Veritas and WikiLeaks stuff would be enough to make the Clinton-friendly press say, whoa, let's step back a little bit. But you didn't really see that, did you? No, because these things didn't affect them. They were still just reporting on it, and they still preferred her over Trump, all right? And, people like to be consistent, so they don't like to change their minds. That's a basic principle of psychology, is that once you dig into a position, especially if the people on your side, your tribe, are taking the same kind of position, it's hard to change your mind. So you had all that going. And then Donna Brazile got caught for the second time feeding journalists questions to the Clinton camp, exposing, in the public mind anyway, again, facts aside, it confirms in the public's mind that the Clinton-friendly media is in the bag for Clinton, thus destroying any semblance of credibility that had been maintained up to that point, and really the credibility of the press in general, all sides of the press, had taken a tremendous hit. It was in the toilet. Trump has been hammering on this topic forever, saying exactly this. But it doesn't matter that Trump was right on this. That doesn't influence anybody in this situation, because that's more of a, hey, he got a fact right. And remember, facts don't matter. Nobody cares about facts. So the fact that Trump got one right and said, the media is in the bag for Clinton, and then you see the evidence that seems to support that, at least in your mind, right? It's anecdotal. It could have been Donna Brazile working with just one person who was a scoundrel. It doesn't mean it represents the entire media. It doesn't mean it represents CNN, because I think it doesn't. I think it's probably one individual and Donna Brazile. That's probably it. But how does it feel if you're a professional journalist and you've been sort of painted as on the side of Clinton? You kind of associate with her. You put your brand on her. You put your reputation on her. Your feelings are now merged with Clinton's feelings a little bit. And then you realize that her team just screwed you so badly. Now, they didn't intend to do it. They intended to not be caught. All right? So Donna Brazile didn't expect to be caught. But if you're the media, you're going to feel totally betrayed by this. All right? You're going to feel that this team, first of all, can't keep a secret. If there's one thing we know about the Clinton team, man, they cannot keep a secret. So whereas Trump hasn't even released his tax returns. So, I mean, there's a guy who can keep it secret, if you know what I mean. Unless he's hot mic'd, so I guess he's not perfect either. All right, so all this is leading me to this prediction. And you've seen it already with, at least you've seen the hints of it already. I think the media, all of it now, is going to turn on Clinton in a way you wouldn't have expected. Because I think the Donna Brazile thing gives them not only permission to go at her hard for all the other stuff. Forget about the Donna Brazile stuff. They can go at her for, all the WikiLeaks stuff and Project Veritas and all that. So they now have a fake because. And those of you who've been following my blogging about persuasion know that the fake because looks like there's a reason. It looks like you're using your rational thought, but really we don't ever use rational thought. What we do is we rationalize things after we make some emotional decision. And what I'm talking about now is the Clinton-friendly media. Because of the Donna Brazile situation and how that feels emotionally, it just gives them a fake because now they can just turn on them for everything. I guess actually that's more like a real because it will affect them emotionally. They will feel betrayed by it in a way that they don't give a shit about some big conceptual problem that's just something on the news. If you're losing audio or video and other people aren't, it means the connection's on your side. So, and usually if audio gets lost for everybody, I would get dozens of messages right away. And don't put bad rumors on my Periscope, please. He needs Pennsylvania, does he? Aren't there other ways to win without Pennsylvania? So here's something I just tweeted right before you got on, and it's sort of a party game. So we could do it right here. We can do this live. Just for fun, count the number of Clinton-related, let's say Clinton's campaign or people who support her, anything that came out of WikiLeaks, whatever. Count the number of crooked things that came out of the Clinton world after, and here's the key, only counting after Trump had already labeled her crooked. Because we want to see how much from the future is Trump, all right? Because think of how many things that came out after she had already been labeled crooked. Yeah, there was the Veritas, the missing emails, the lying about the emails, the lying about the stuff. There's the Donna Brazile stuff. There's the Project Veritas stuff with there was all the trolls that were on attacking me and others on Periscope and everywhere else. All right, it was just a cavalcade. And I even forgot the biggest ones. Now, just like Lion Ted, yeah. So, well, I think what Trump was doing, and as I explained then, I thought that Crooked Hillary was more about attracting confirmation bias, meaning that you would just start seeing everything she did as looking crooked. But I know we're all affected by persuasion, and I could be hallucinating now with the rest of you, but doesn't it feel like these are not confirmation bias? Doesn't it seem like, I mean, given that we have the WikiLeaks and there are things she's no longer even trying to say didn't happen. They've completely turned to shooting messengers. They're on it's a full firing squad for messengers right now. I mean, you could describe Clinton's campaign with 3 words. All right, you ready? Here are the 3 words that describe the Clinton campaign right now. firing, oh, shit, it's 4 words. Wait, firing squad for messengers. Yeah, firing squad for messengers. Because it's not just one messenger now. They're going after every messenger. Right? It's all the messengers. It's like a total, they're lining up all the messengers along the wall, putting those little hoods on them and just, shooting them in the back of the head. It's just one messenger after another. So if you think about it, when your campaign completely stops, when they completely stop, going after the content. And by the way, when was the last time you heard about policy? Remember all those policies? No, you don't. You don't remember any policies. Nobody's talking about policies. Not a lot of that going on. Somebody just said something that I wanted to talk about. What was it? Oh, the mole, yeah. So for those of you coming late to the party, I often make a reference to something called the mole, M-O-L-E. And I capitalize both T and M. It's the mole. It's not just a mole. It's the mole. And I call this person who may or may not really exist. We don't know. It's just fun to look at it, whether it's confirmation bias or fact. It looks like fact, right? I think it's confirmation bias, but dear God, does this look like it's true, all right? And by the way, this is the reason I do it. Let me give you some background. You don't know what I'm talking about yet, unless you've been following this. On Clinton's Twitter feed, there are often, and I mean really often, as in more often than not, tweets that look like the person who wrote it doesn't want her to win. And you'd have to see them in their entirety to see what I mean. But the usual thing they do wrong is they start out with something that sounds good for Trump, the first sentence, and then they try to use their cleverness, or maybe a link to some damning evidence, that negates it and makes their point at the end. It completely ignores the fact that the human brain is far less capable than they would hope, and we tend to read the headlines and remember the first impression, and then everything after the first impression is blah, 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 we forget. And that's the way the normal brain works, right? Because there's so much information in our environment that we just don't have time to process it all. We get the big picture and move on. It's like hit it and leave it, hit it and leave it. So anybody writing a tweet where the first part of the tweet is pro-Trump, or at least sounds that way, or it could even be interpreted that way, it looks like a mole is involved, like there's somebody on the Clinton team who really is working against her, but doing it in such a clever way that they'll never be detected. And even though I talk about it all the time, one assumes that that might have some impact on things. So, and today there was one where the first sentence, maybe somebody can retype the first sentence here so we can see it completely, but it was something along the lines of Donald Trump thinks that women should be paid the same as men for doing the same work, for doing as good a job or something like that, doing the same work. Now that was the headline of the tweet, and then there's a big picture of women, and then below it there was something that would take you to a link to something he must have said that I don't even know what, because I didn't click on it. And most people won't, right? They'll just read the headline and move on. So again, if you just read the first impression, the headline, it looked completely pro-Trump. Because what man, woman, or monster could read that and have any impression other than it sounded fair to them? Yeah, why wouldn't people get paid the same for doing the same work at the same quality? That's what Trump said. Are we done? Well, apparently she wasn't done, but most people aren't going to hang around for the rest of the story. So they're just going to take off. So it seems like the perfect kind of job that may have been perpetrated by the mole, if the mole exists. Now, the mole, in all likelihood, and this is the reason I do this, by the way, it's part of what I've been trying to teach you all about persuasion. Confirmation bias looks to you and me and normal people just like truth. That's what it is, and that's the definition of it. Confirmation bias is when all the evidence seems to support whatever you already thought. So early on, and it was many months ago now, when I labeled this behavior on the Clinton tweets the work of the mole, that got in your head, and there was nothing arguing against it because a lot of the tweets did seem to have that quality, where they seemed to be pro-Trump at first before they cleverly negated what they said, but nobody got to that point. And so you started to see it because I called it out. And then once everybody starts to see it, and then other people are seeing it, and you see them seeing it because they tweet about it all the time, the mole becomes very popular every time she does that again, then you've got another bias kicking in, which is other people are seeing it. And these are other people who agree with you. They're other Trump supporters, let's say. And you say, hey, I'm a Trump supporter. They're Trump supporters. They see the mole. I guess I see the mole. This is more than confirmation bias. This is real. And then when you see one like today is either just an enormous mistake, just incredible lack of marketing intelligence at even the basic level, or the work of the mole. But I think confirmation bias is going to explain it in the long run. It seems unlikely to me that someday we'll learn there was an actual, traitor within the Clinton camp who had been so successful as a double agent that person became in charge of the Clinton tweets. The actual likelihood of that is so low that I think you can sort of discount it, although it would be fun. I mean, I suppose anything could happen this particular race, so it'd be fun if that were the case. And by the way, it looks like it's true. I got to say, even when you're aware of your own almost certainty of being a victim of confirmation bias, and that's what I'm talking about myself right now, looking at Clinton's tweets, it does look like they're done by a traitor, somebody who is cleverly a double agent, within her organization, tweeting to make her look bad while not getting caught at it, doing it so cleverly that the actual words are pro-Clinton, but the effect of it is pro-Trump. I mean, it looks like that's happening. And it looks like it's happening so consistently, it's hard to write it off as coincidence. But it probably is. So that's your lesson in confirmation bias. Someday we'll find out if it was a double agent. Because if it was, that person is going to have to write a book or, go on TV or something. It's just a young, sarcastic, incompetent worker. Well, incompetence explains more things than conspiracy, right? So whenever incompetence is at least possible as a explanation, the law of the universe certainly tells you that it's more odds that stupidity than conspiracy. Clinton's son, let's talk about Danny, what's his name? The young African-American gentleman who claims to be Bill Clinton's biological son. Danny Williams, yeah. So try Googling Danny Williams and Bill Clinton together and see if you can get the pictures that show them side by side, face to face, and then look at them feature to feature. Now here again, confirmation bias must be safeguarded against, because if you take any two male faces, there's always a good chance that there's at least one feature that they have in common just by chance. It's like, oh, that nose looks like his nose, even if the rest of it doesn't. And you would say to yourself, even though there are 10 things that don't look like Bill Clinton, there's that one thing that does. So therefore, I conclude, they must be related. So be aware that you're likely to be fooled about what is likely and what isn't by looking at two faces and making a determination. That said, and arguing on the other side of what I just said, humans are really good at processing faces. If there's anything a human mind and eyes can do well, it's identify faces. That's why you can see a little thumbnail picture of a human face, And you can tell if that person's attractive even when they're the size of, one of these little hearts you're seeing on the side here coming up. It could be this tiniest little thing, and you can still determine whether you'd like to mate with them, all right, from the tiniest little picture, because we're so good at identifying faces. So weigh that into your calculation of what I'm going to say. Then, if you find that picture of Danny Williams claiming to be Bill Clinton's legitimate or illegitimate son, I shouldn't use the word illegitimate, the unclaimed, unverified son, if you look at them side by side, and then look at their dental arrangement, look at their teeth. All right, and after you're done looking at their teeth, you tell me if you think that looks like a coincidence, that they have the same dental arrangement. Now, it could be. And you can't rule out the fact that one of the pictures is doctored a little bit, right? So there's no way to confirm it. But in terms of something that sure looks like they're related, look at just the teeth. And I think there are enough other features. I'm working from memory here, but I think maybe the nose, in particular, looked a little Bill Clinton-ish. There was something else about it so I think there were at least 2 points. Was it the eyes or the chin? Yeah, there was something else about it that made more than the teeth appear to be important. All right, and remember, people are really good at identifying faces, and it wouldn't surprise me. All right, stick with me on this point. And I'm not claiming this as science or fact. This is just some fun speculation, right? If you were an early humanoid, caveman kind of person, one of the skills that you imagine might be important, aside from recognizing faces of people in your tribe or people in your family, you always want to remember, hey, which one is my mate? Because otherwise you'd be mating with the wrong person, or trying to, and maybe that person couldn't tell the difference because they can't recognize faces either. But the point is, we evolved to be super good at recognizing faces. Now, what is another thing that face-recognizing people would also want to do that would be good for survival, good for a variety of reasons, I guess, passing genes along? We're probably good at recognizing the children of other people by their features. We probably evolved with that power. Right? Again, just speculation. I'm not going to claim this will pass the scientific filter, but it sort of passes the sniff test of something that is, worthy of testing. I mean, I think if you did a test of, lineups, you could test this pretty easily, I guess. Take people who are not related and put them in a lineup and compare them to people who are related, the children of other people. Compare photos and have random people see if they can tell the child of someone else, if they can pick it out. I would bet we're pretty good at that. So I would think that if you took a survey of just regular people, assuming your survey had, even a little bit of scientific accuracy, and you said, does Danny Williams look like who he claims to be his father, Bill Clinton? If you said that, I'll bet you would get a survey answer that would be so clear that would probably match DNA results. In other words, you'd probably get like a 2 out of 3 people, maybe 3 out of 4, who would come to the same conclusion, that a particular offspring belongs to a particular parent and not some other random picture that they were tested with to see if they could tell, who was the child. Yeah, probably 3 out of 4, I would think. And will Danny affect the election? I don't think so. Yeah, and then there's that rumor that Chelsea Clinton is the offspring of Webb Hubble. If you do the same test, because you've seen those pictures together too on the internet, of Chelsea and Webb Hubble, in my opinion, they look like father and daughter. But remember, this is a place where there's massive opportunity for confirmation bias. The fact that it really, really looks like Webb Hubbell is the father of Chelsea, doesn't mean that Webb Hubbell is the father of Chelsea. It just doesn't mean that, right? A DNA test would mean that, but me saying, oh, she has the same features or some of them of this random guy. Well, he's not random. He was, wasn't he Hillary Clinton's boss for a while? Just because it looks that way, I don't think, especially given that there's a live human being who isn't guilty of anything too much as far as I know, I think it would be unfair to speculate that just because this character looks like her, that's her father. I think you need a DNA test for that. Yes, so Hillary Clinton did accept Donna Brazile's question. I hate to break it to you, folks, but the Donna Brazile thing is probably closer to normal behavior everywhere than it is to unusual behavior. What's unusual about it is getting caught, all right? And that's true of a lot of what you're seeing in this election. A lot of what we're pearl clutching about, and it works on both sides, ladies and gentlemen. It's not always the Clinton supporters who are doing the pearl clutching here. When you hear that Hillary Clinton used some questions that she knew were insider questions from CNN, let's put that in perspective, all right? She may or may not be running a criminal enterprise that's a shadow government called the Clinton Foundation. That's a big problem. Cheating on some questions that you got in advance of a debate, that's probably closer to normal behavior. In other words, I'll bet if you went through time, you would find that it's fairly often that this sort of thing happens, and that both sides are doing. You imagine both sides are doing smaller discrepancies. Wrong word. Smaller misdemeanors. So I think both sides are doing this all the time because they're fighting hard. And it's the sort of thing you can do and usually not get caught. Usually it's a high gain activity with a very low risk of detection. And what have I taught you? Whenever there's something that has a very high payoff, potentially, but a very low risk of getting caught, people do it every time. Not sometimes. Let me be as clear as possible about this. Whenever you have a situation where there are lots of people involved, and so there are lots of people who have the same opportunity. Whenever you have an opportunity for a high payoff and a very low chance of detection, and the penalty isn't, death if you get caught, you always have shenanigans. Always. Every time. It's humans. People are good when they think they might get caught. When they think they won't get caught, humans just go to shit right away. So, don't be too shocked that Donna Brazile gave up some questions to Hillary Clinton and that Hillary Clinton used them. I would say the fact that didn't raise any ethical flags should not surprise you because they're operating in a very sketchy field. I mean, she probably lied 7 times that morning before even getting those fake questions, right? Everything they do is a lie in some form, all right? There's nothing that's being presented as actual truth. Everything they say about each other is either hyperbole or exaggerated. All of the facts are taken out of context to favor them. I mean, every part of this process is filthy. So put it in context. The Donna Brazile thing is horrible because she got caught, and then further made horrible because she lied about it in such an awkward way on camera, and Megyn Kelly just ate her for lunch, and had to. By the way, I'm a huge fan of Megyn Kelly, and have been since the early Trump dust-up. And I say this primarily because she's really good at her job, right? So forget about whose politics or who she prefers or anything. I know you disagree. But I would say that as a television personality, she controls a camera, controls attention, as well as anyone's ever done it. So I think she's in the highest stratosphere of just good at her job. It looks like she's having fun at this point too. So, somehow even she's ending up having fun in this process. I think she came out ahead. All right. Have I said enough for today? I do need to go work. All right. I think we're going to take off. Thanks so much for listening to this rant today. We may talk again if there's a new video dump. Somebody promised me a new video dump today, but I can't remember if it was supposed to be pro-Trump, anti-Trump, pro-Clinton, anti-Kaine. Is Kaine gay? I don't know if Tim Kaine is gay or bisexual or straight. I do know that a lot of people ask me the question. So from a persuasion perspective, if it matters to people, then that's certainly the perception is there. I would have no information on that either way. Yeah, let's keep it G-rated here, folks. Sort of. All right. I guess this is a good time to check out before the homophobia becomes worse than it already is. And by the way, isn't it time for a gay president? I mean, how's that a bad thing? It's not time for a gay president? I say it is. I say it's time for a gay president. Maybe not this season, right? Not this election, but pretty soon, right? Let's try that. Milo. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.